I want to welcome all of my next level travelers and thank you for everyone who is not familiar with me. My name is Ronell Perry. I own and operate Afro-Buenaventura Transformative Travel. I provide opportunities for folks to go to Latin American countries, specifically Black communities in Latin America, and have immersive cultural experiences. You can view the information about my company at www.afrobuenaventura.com/Cuba. So if you are here, I want you to just come on in, share this link and comment and like and whatever else so that we can get the engagement up. And we also tag our travel buddies so they can join in on the conversation. So what we're going to talk about today is sustainable tourism. Really, what does that mean? And why is it important for us to make sure that our tourism and the activities that we do when we travel abroad are sustainable and are low impact on the communities that we visit? So let me give you a background a little bit about myself. I am a returned Peace Corps volunteer. If you're familiar with Peace Corps, it is an NGO that is funded by the U.S. government, and we go abroad to other countries to do community work, and that community work is directed actually by the host communities. I'm also fluent in Spanish, and I have over 20 years of travel experience. I also have a master's degree in public policy and management. So I kind of bring all of those aspects of my life and of my knowledge to really provide services that really help folks to take their travel to the next level and also present host communities with the opportunity to engage in mutually beneficial business opportunities. So go to my website, afrobuenaventura.com, and you can learn more. So what I do here is I host trips to Black communities in Latin America. In the past year, in 2018, I hosted 3 trips, one to Mexico, one to Colombia, and another to Cuba. And today I'm going to talk really about what sustainable tourism looks like in my business interactions, and then how you can become involved in that movement, because I really feel like it is a movement. So first off, let's define sustainable tourism. Sustainable tourism is tourism that has a low impact on the environment and the local culture, while helping to generate employment for local people. And the positive aspects of sustainable tourism is that it ensures that the development is positive for not only the tourists, not only do the tourists get value out of sustainable tourism, but specifically the host communities get value out of it. And it's important so that we as tourists don't go places and do not alter or marginalize the communities that we seek to visit, and that we honor them by showing respect and awareness, and that our presence in their community as guests result in mutual benefits. Hey Sashi, thanks for joining. Hey Bartoloachi, thanks for joining me too. I want you to go ahead and put your comments in the comment section. Today we're talking about sustainable tourism, and I'm going to talk about a specific case study of my partners in Cuba who are doing an amazing job of really providing income, cultural opportunities in exchange for the community members that are part of their locally run business that provides tourism experiences in Black culture in Cuba. So let's go ahead and talk about my experience with sustainable tourism in Cuba specifically. So in 2016, I visited Cuba and I did an experience with a young lady named Havana. She's the owner of Afro-Cuban Culture Guide, and she started a business where she takes folks to her community called Guanabacoa and provides them with an immersive experience. And so 2 years later, we created an experience together called Afro-Cuban 101. It's a multi-day experience that you can only get with Afro-Buenaventura Transformative Travel, and we bring folks into their homes, to host community members' homes, into their places of worship, into their places of congregation, so that you can really feel not like a tourist, but you can feel like you are a part of the community and you're engaging with them in an authentic way. So let's talk a little bit about Guanabacoa. If you're familiar with Havana, it is a pretty large metropolitan city. It's the capital of Cuba. And in that community, in that city, there are several different townships, and one of them is Guanabacoa. Guanabacoa was one of the largest slave ports in Cuba. So its demographics is largely Black. You would call them Afro-Latin or Afro-Cuban. And so these were West Africans that were brought as slaves to Cuba, and they landed in Guanabacoa. They brought with them their traditions, and they protected those traditions by hiding them behind Catholic images and ceremonies. This is called syncretism. This is when the forces that be say you cannot practice your religion, you cannot make the food that you made, you cannot speak your language, but you hide it behind the image of the oppressor's belief systems, right? So that's called syncretism. And out of that, you have Santeria, and you have Palomonte, which came out of that need to hide the true identity of those African traditions and belief systems behind the Catholic images and belief systems. That's called syncretism. So Guanabacoa, this community now that you can visit, is known as the hub, the birthplace, the womb of African traditional religions in Cuba. And luckily, we have the opportunity to visit that community as tourists and engage with those people on equal footing. And when you walk through the city, you'll see people that look like you. If you are a melanated person, you will see people of all hues, black, brown, and in between. And that is amazing. So what I've done is I collaborate with my friends at Afro-Cuban Culture Guide, and they dictate what opportunities there are for tourism to engage with their communities. So they provide their services to the tourism marketplace, and they dictate the terms of it. That is one of the keys to sustainable tourism, that not only are we, as people who have privilege, who have a specific passport that can access these communities, not only do we get to say, I want to go to Cuba and I want to explore, I want to go anywhere else and I want to explore, but sustainable tourism says that I'm the guest. I go here and you tell me what you need from me. You tell me how you can serve me. You tell me how we can collaborate and bring value to each other. So I'm bringing my tourism dollars while the community is bringing their value and their culture that they can present and show to us and share with us. And it's a mutually beneficial relationship. I've seen some instances where, you have tourism operators who go to communities and they exploit those communities, or they engage with them in terms that are not mutually beneficial. One particular party is gaining more, and that is not how we run it at Afro-Buenaventura, and that's not how we engage with our partners. Specifically in Cuba, we let them dictate the terms of that relationship, and they show us what they're willing to show us, and we make sure that it's in an authentic way so that you as a traveler don't feel like a tourist that's coming to get a show, but you're coming to see real life in action. That is one of the keys to sustainable tourism. So what happened was, this specific initiative started with just two people, Adriana and her partner Jose, and it radiated out from them into the community. So it starts at one or two people, and then the whole community starts to benefit from this influx of tourists that are coming to engage with the community. That is another really great aspect of sustainable tourism, that it not only economically benefits one person or a group of people, but it starts to radiate out into the community, and different community members can add value to that initiative. And so you really have a community development impact rather than just a one-person business impact. And so that's how we engage with the folks in our African community, Afro-Cuban community in Guanabacoa. So they started with Airbnb experiences. If you're familiar with Airbnb experiences, Airbnb a couple years ago really wanted to branch out and kind of take the tourism industry by storm and provide ways that tourists can get more authentic experiences person to person with the communities that they were visiting. So they created experiences where not only can you book a home and place to stay, but you can book a cultural experience, a tour, a chat, or a cooking class, and you can do it that way too. So what we do is, so they started with Airbnb experiences, and we built it from there. We created an extension of their Airbnb experience, and it's just for my company, Afro-Buenaventura. It resulted in what we call today Afro-Cuba One-on-One. It is a multi-day experience that offers a holistic view of African influence on spirituality, music, dance, food, and the visual arts. Hey everyone, thank you for joining so much. If you have any questions, go ahead and type those in the comments, and I'll get to them either live, or I'll make sure that I follow up on the recorded version and respond to them. If you have any questions, also click like, click share, and you might want to tag your travel buddy today too. We're talking about sustainable tourism, and right now I'm talking about a case study that I'm personally involved with in Cuba, how we're building sustainable tourism in the community of Guanabacoa, which was a major hub for enslaved Africans, and therefore the present-day community is very reflective of the Afro-Cuban community and folks of color. And so how can you, so let me just talk about a couple of instances where I've seen sustainable tourism really benefit a community. So I went to Cuba in December to take a group of folks on Afro-Cuban One-on-One. It's the first time we hosted the experience, and we were in one of the Babalawo's homes, and one of the rooms is dedicated to the musical instruments that they use in their ceremonies and their presentations. And they had drums all on the wall. And Adriana told us of this drum that one of their patrons had gifted to them, or had given them the money. So this patron came to the experience, saw it was amazing, and heard that they needed drums to be able to do more presentations and ceremonies The African drums are really key to that. So he started fundraising money for the drum and sent it to Cuba so that they can purchase the drum. So it was a need that was met based on the expressed need from the community. So remember that the community's needs, and the community gets to dictate how they allocate their resources and what kind of access they give to people. I think that's one really great example of the way sustainable tourism really can impact the community. And it might just seem like one little tangible thing, a drum, but if you're familiar with the importance of drums, African drums call together community. So they were playing this drum while we were there, and literally, whoever hears the drum is welcome to come to see who's playing the drum and come to the place where the drum is being played. So as the practitioners are playing the drums in this backyard, literally community members are coming to the yard to be a part of the party that started to form. So the African drums are really key to the African heritage that is present in Cuba. So this tourist who funded this drum to be purchased by this community not only bought a drum, but he helped that community buy a piece of cultural artifact that was whose purpose is to bring together their community. So I think that's a really great case study for sustainable tourism. I want to talk about another case study. So in the community of Guanajuato, they have a municipal museum which basically focuses on all the African traditional religions that started in Guanajuato. And Adriana told me, she said, initially we had some resistance from the folks that work here because we started to bring more folks here, so that means they had to work more. So the attendants had to be there. The ladies who cleaned the restroom had to clean the restroom more often. The folks who collected tickets had to be there. The front desk collect tickets. And if you know about Cuba, it's socialist and communist government, so all the businesses are owned by the government. So museums and things like that are owned by the government. So you get a salary by the government, and that salary is fixed. It's I think they either said $17 or $27 a month, and you have to make your ends meet on that. And so just because you show up for work does not mean that your salary is going to increase, or just because you work more hours does not mean that your weekly paycheck is going to increase. So if you can imagine my friend Adriana hosting these experiences in her community and bringing loads of people to the community, to this museum, and that means that the folks in the museum are going to have to work harder and going to have to work more in order to do their jobs, even though their income is fixed. So she had to have a conversation with them about the value that this brings. So now Adriana takes money out of the money that she makes from these tourism experiences, and she brings gifts for the museum workers' families. She brings toys for the kids. So this is the way that tourism not only impacts a small group of people and the tourists, but it radiates outward and provides benefits to the entire community. I think that's a really great example of how sustainable tourism works. So what I want you to do is, once you get off of here, go to afrobuenaventura.com/Cuba, and there's an opportunity for you to join us in Guanajuato and see this sustainable tourism initiative in action. So let's talk about how you can incorporate sustainable tourism in your trips. I take folks on trips with me, but I also recognize that some folks like to set up their own trips and do it on their own. So I'm here to offer that expertise to you as well. So what you can do is you can research. You need to understand before you even start booking travel stuff to, travel flights and Airbnbs and accommodations in a specific community. You need to be aware of the economic situations and the demographic situations that are happening in a community. So you can be aware of how your tourism might be affecting those communities. In Cuba, tourism is one of the top money makers. The Cuban government opened up tourism as an opportunity for them to make money, especially after they split from the Soviet Union and were not being subsidized. So tourism is really impactful for the Cuban economy. So when you're coming to Cuba, you're bringing money and opportunities. Hey, Jose, happy belated birthday. You're bringing money and opportunities to communities through tourism when you engage with Cuba in this way. So when you start to research about communities where you're visiting, you need to understand who are the top tourism companies, who owns them, and what is being said about them. So not only do I engage with local folks, but I need to understand who's owning these tour companies. Are the people from the communities owning the tour companies? What kind of relationships does the owner have with the actual communities where they're operating? So I would really implore you to really research and understand that, because If there's a company that doesn't represent the people who actually live in the community and they're engaged in an exploitative relationship, then you're not contributing to sustainable tourism. So what you can do now is also use Airbnb experiences. Airbnb is not only a great place to book your accommodations, but you can do Airbnb experiences. And for the most part, the folks that are presenting experiences on Airbnb are the actual folks who are in the communities, who are running it from their kitchen table, who are making it part of their daily life to host people and bring tourists into their daily realities. So that's a great way to engage in sustainable tourism and build it into any itinerary that you yourself facilitate. And I have a few different, I would say, kind of principles or tenets that I would say you need to really adhere by in order to make sure that your tourism and your activities as a tourist is ethical and sustainable. So one, make sure that whatever activities you're engaging in is fair and honest. That is like the top principle of being a sustainable tourist. Make sure that whatever relationships you have, whether they be business or private, that they are fair and honest. That is in regard to pricing and regarding to payment, and you don't want to undercut. So I definitely believe in haggling and bargaining, but you want to make sure that you're providing the economic response to the value that you're getting from being in that experience, right? The second tenet or second principle is make sure that as a tourist, your actions are nonviolent. And we might just think make sure you don't shoot anybody or kill anybody, but violence is a negative impact on somebody regardless of how it, really manifests. But it means that every being should be treated ethically. That includes humans, animals, and natural resources. So if humans are losing out on the deal because you are there and you're engaged, or if animals are being harmed in the process, or if natural resources are being exploited in the process, then that means that you're not engaging in sustainable tourism. So the second tenet for sustainable tourism and this next level travel kind of understanding of my responsibility as a tourist is to make sure that my actions are non-violent. So making sure that there's an ethical treatment of everyone, whether they be humans, animals, or natural resources. Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. We're talking about sustainable tourism today. And so the last tenet of making sure that your travel practices are sustainable is to make sure that they are inclusive. This means that your tourist activities actively dismantles bias, prejudice, generalizations, and stereotypes that all sexualities, faiths, races, religions, gender identities, languages, socioeconomic backgrounds, and levels of academic achievement have equal access to participation. It is that whatever you're doing is available to anyone that seeks it and takes the opportunity to experience it. So I really hold that true. My clients come from all walks of life, from all socioeconomic backgrounds, from all races, and they're all welcome. And everyone that engages with the community partners that I engage in, they are welcome regardless of what their background is. I think that in order to be a next level traveler, to have this heightened awareness of your responsibility as a traveler, to make sure that you are supporting sustainable tourism, you need to follow these three rules. They include making sure that your tourist activities are fair and honest, making sure that your tourist activities are nonviolent, and making sure that your tourist activities are inclusive. So with those three different tenets, I believe that you can build sustainable tourism into your own itineraries, and you can hold others accountable for that same level of responsibility as a global citizen. So now I want to talk a little bit about sustainable tourism with my company, Afro-Cuban Transformative Travel, and I want to thank everyone who stayed on the line so far. If you have questions, go ahead and type those in the comments and I'll get to them. And like and share this. Tag your travel buddies. Let folks know that there's a different way of traveling. You don't just have to be a traditional tourist. You can go places and relax and have fun, but you can also go places as a global citizen that has a responsibility to the world and understanding your privilege as someone who can travel freely and move between borders. Because as you know, that is a big issue right now. Everyone cannot move freely. Everyone does not have the economic wherewithal or opportunities or money to move freely and go places and engage in certain ways with the world. But you do, and that means you have a larger responsibility. So you need to be making sure that all of your activities, your relationships are sustainable. They engage in sustainable tourism practices. So that is really the background of how I operate Afro-Buenaventura Transformative Travels. People are at the center of everything that I do. My clients come first, and my partners and my host communities come first. I talked a little bit about some case studies where we saw sustainable tourism in action, and I was speaking about those case studies in the context of a program that I and my partners put together called Afro-Cuban One-on-One. I recently had Afro-Cuban One-on-One in December, and it was incredible. My clients really loved it. They said they loved the food, they loved the music, and most importantly, every single one of them in their evaluations mentioned that they loved the person-to-person interaction. They loved the intimacy and the authenticity that came from relating and communing with and eating with and sharing a space with other Afro-descendant people, specifically in Cuba. So I want to give you the opportunity to join us for Afro-Cuban One-on-One. Again, this summer in July, we're going to Guanabacoa, the birthplace of Afro-Cuban traditions, and specifically Afro-descendant traditions, spiritualities, and belief systems, such as Santeria and Palo Monte. We're going there. And actually, right now, early bird registration is open, but it ends on January 16th at 11:59 p.m. Early bird registration for Afro-Cuban One-on-One is open right now, and it ends on January 16th at 11:59 p.m. So you can find out more information and see all the packages. You can pay in full or you can pay an installment plan. You can see that information at www.afrobuenaventura.com/Cuba. If you're on Instagram, you can go to the links in my bio and tap on Cuba 2019. So this program is a multi-day experience. It's an immersion in Black Cuban community. You can learn about the African influence on the culture, and also the impact that Cuban history had on Black communities in terms of arts, in terms of performance, in terms of food, in terms of spirituality. So it's really a holistic way for you to engage in tourism with a Black community in Cuba that kind of surrounded by so much mystery. We can really go there to unlock the mystery of Cuba. And so I know you have been seeing this I Love Afro-Cuban culture shirt. So this actually I bought when I was in Guanabacoa with my partners. They're opening a souvenir shop that specifically offers traditional Annette, it offers handmade items made by the folks in Guanabacoa. So, when you're walking around in Old Havana, you see all these tourist shops. And this shop is actually, that they're opening, is going to be offering handmade goods from their community. And so ultimately, you're going to be able to get this if you join us in Afro-Cuban One-on-One. But I also want to tell you about another opportunity. I just opened up my very own t-shirt shop, travel t-shirt shop. It's called mytraveltea.org. If someone types that in for me, that would be really helpful. mytraveltea.org. And you can buy a shirt that says straight out of Guanabacoa, like that, straight out of Compton shirts. 50% of that proceed will go to a community fund, which will be dictated by the community members in Guanabacoa. So this is another way that we're engaging in sustainable tourism. We are providing opportunities, economic opportunities for the folks in Guanabacoa to dictate their own development. So if you buy one of the shirts that's available in my shop, the shirt that says straight out of Guanabacoa, 50% of the proceeds will go to a fund that is going to be contributing to the development in Guanabacoa, Cuba. It's mytraveltea.org. Somebody type that in for me. And right now, all shirts are 10% off. So go ahead over there and contribute to sustainable travel movement and fulfill your role as a global citizen. So I really believe in sustainable tourism. Afro-Cuban One-on-One is a great opportunity for you to join us and put sustainable tourism into action. If you have any questions, let me know. And that is all. So if you have any questions, go ahead and let me know. I'm going to stay for a few more moments to answer any questions about sustainable tourism or about traveling with me to Cuba. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, please let me know. Please share this video with your travel buddies or anyone interested in Cuba. You can follow me across all social media outlets at Afro-Buenaventura. I just want to thank you all so much for joining Friday Live today. I look forward to traveling with you in the future. Adios.